The dominoes are falling and a brand new system is coming in. I'm going to give you a completely different perspective, and I'm going to stay in my zone of genius, which is macro microeconomics and how I'm navigating through the new financial system. It's not financial advice, do your own research, but I'm going to bring you into my brain and my logical circuit on how I connect the dots. Like I said, I'm going to stay in my zone of genius, which is financial. But there's a massive spiritual and financial shift happening right now. Now, a couple weeks ago, you heard me talk about the shift, February 20th, 2026, and how it brings us into a new era. It ended a 36-year cycle that started in 1988, which completely detaches from reality of money. So spiritually, economically, that shift started on February 20th, 2026. What you're about to see is the exposure of new systems, the destruction of the old system. And let me explain from different perspectives. So the files that nobody's talking about anymore are much bigger than we actually think. The files showed systematic cracks, what's called an asymmetric system of information. Donors, heads of schools, heads of royal families getting exposed in an asymmetric informational system, but it also showed the cracks on how money and information moves through the system. That was a clear sign to you of the new exposure from asymmetric system to symmetric systems and decentralization of information. Another thing to take a look at is about a week ago, Tim Walz was sitting in front of Congress and they're drilling him on all the fraud in his state. That's another example of exposure. We had Jan Street, Jan Street, get exposed from manipulating Bitcoin, allegedly. I told you guys, after February 20th, everything's going to start to come to light. We're moving from an asymmetric system where information, it's opaque, it's centralized information, you got to be part of a yacht club, a private banking system, to symmetric information, which is decentralized. Another example is media. You saw people get fired from Fox News and become massive as independent journalists. Joe Rogan, the top influencer and podcaster in the world, Russell Brand. These are examples of the moving from opaque information being out there. So in the financial system, moving from an opaque centralized banking system to a decentralized, clear, equitable infrastructure. You're not going to stop this. I want you to have a different perspective and a different understanding of what is actually happening. So that's how I make my investments, not off emotion, but off the new symmetric, decentralized, clear, equitable system. You're moving from a SWIFT system, a centralized system, to a decentralized system. Blockchain technology. Everything's going to be on the blockchain. Government, your tax records, medical records, everything's going to be fair and equitable. You're going to have governance and choice within your banks. An example is WLFI. Trump created World Liberty Financial. His boys run the bank and the Witkoff boys run the bank. It's governance. We have the governance.